Hello, and welcome to the Achieve Optimum Health Summit, where we explore how to prevent and reverse chronic illness. I'm Angelina Kardash, your summit host. And today, my guest is an award winning chef, educator, and authority on plant based cuisine, Mark Reinfeld. Chef Mark Reinfeld is the founding chef of the Vegan Fusion Culinary Academy. Mark has over 25 years experience preparing creative vegan and raw cuisine and has led plant-based cooking workshops and training around the world. In 2017, he was inducted into Vegetarian Hall of Fame. He was the founding chef of the Blossoming Lotus restaurant, voted best restaurant on Kauai. Mark's first cookbook, Vegan Fusion World Cuisine, was named Best Vegetarian Cookbook in the United States. And since then, Mark has authored several more books, including the best-selling 30-Minute Vegan series, as well as his latest books detailing the links between health and plant-based diets. The Vegan Fusion Culinary Academy is a culmination of his dream to bring mindfulness, passion, and compassion to the culinary world, of encouraging more people to discover the pleasures and benefits of plant-based cooking. I love that mission statement. Well, welcome, Mark. I'm so excited to have you here today.
Thank you, Angelina. It's wonderful to be here. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. On this summit, we talk a lot about the plant-based diet for optimum health and for prevention and reversal of chronic diseases. Eating healthy is an option that we're all aware of, but falling is a challenge, right?
Yes.
So today I would like us to talk about the joy and benefits of plant-based cooking so people can easily follow it. So please tell us about yourself and what motivated you to become vegan.
Well, thank you for asking. It was about over actually 1990. I was on a kibbutz in Israel, and I started seeing animals in their natural setting, and I'd always loved animals, and so I decided at that point just to not eat them anymore. So that started me on a vegetarian journey, and then later I started feeling better when I left out the dairy and eggs. And so that's when I started learning about the environmental impact of some of those food choices. So that solidified me as eating more plant-based. And initially growing up, I actually went to law school for a semester and realized that wasn't what my true passion was. And I always loved cooking as a child. And my grandfather was a renowned chef and ice carver. So I embarked on a professional culinary career, actually just learning in health food stores where I was working. So that's what led me to become a chef and a plant-based chef.
Awesome, awesome. By the way, I lived in kibbutz too, so I know exactly what you're talking about. We
Yeah.
took care of cows and chickens. Yeah, so it was
Yeah.
an interesting experience.
Definitely.
How did you wind up as a plant-based chef and cookbook author, and what is your life vision?
Oh, okay, that's a good one. So just because I just developed this, I always loved cooking as a child. It helped me calm down, and it just felt like it was a good creative outlet. And so I realized I was just very passionate about it. And where I was working, I had the opportunity to get creative with food, and I just started loving what I was doing. And so working in a health food store, eventually I branched off and formed my own consulting and private chef service called the Blossoming Lotus. And then I traveled around doing corporate trainings where I would train chef. This was in like the late 90s, training professional chefs on vegan cuisine and creating recipe manuals. And then I went to Kauai, Hawaii for a 2-week vacation, and I wound up staying for 8 years. So it was a very long 2-week vacation, and that's where we opened the restaurant called the Blossoming Lotus. And during that time, we started publishing cookbooks, like some that you mentioned. The first one, Jane Goodall wrote the foreword, and that started on the path of writing the 30-minute vegan books. And then the last book we did is called The Ultimate Age Defying Plan, because I'm doing pretty good for 80 years old. So I need to share my secrets with the world.
Are you really 80 years old?
No. That's like standard joke about the book. But the book I wrote with my wife, who's a naturopathic doctor, and all of the recipes have 7 ingredients or less. And it's designed to show people just how easy it is to thrive on a plant-based diet, especially towards the later years.
Yeah, so is your restaurant still alive?
The restaurant in Hawaii, we closed in 2008, and we had the Blossoming Lotus in Portland, Oregon, which we sold a few years ago, but that one's still open. And basically you asked like kind of the vision for my life. And for me, I'm really devoted to showing people how easy it is to create plant-based cuisine. And I like to just encourage people as like a form of activism and to help people take their health back into their own hands. A big hurdle people have is feeling like the food can't taste good or it's too complicated. And so I love showing people how easy it is to incorporate it.
So you just mentioned food activism. So can you please explain what that means to you?
Sure. And so for me, like, there's a lot of levels to it. I was a philosophy major in college, so I like to philosophize about all this. And when you show someone how to prepare, if you feed someone a healthy meal, you get a nice feeling of satisfaction. And then when you show that person how to prepare the food, it's even a deeper level of satisfaction. You may have heard of that ancient Chinese proverb that says if you give a person a block of tofu, you feed them for a day. And if you show them how to bake the tofu, you feed them for a lifetime, or something like that. And so for me, I look at it as activism, in that when you give people the tools to prepare the food, you're giving them their health, the benefit of taking their health into their own hands. And it also has the other positive impacts, like the environmental impact, creating a sustainable future for humanity and eliminating the suffering that's on factory farms. So there's all these levels that really showing people how to prepare plant-based food is, I feel, a way of really affecting positive change on the planet and ensuring our long-term survival here.
Yeah, that's awesome. Tell us about your book, Healing the Vegan Way for Optimum Health and Wellness. I specifically want to hear about that because I mean,
Sure.
we talk about the chronic illness, and I mean, and we talk
Yeah.
about the optimum health. So that's a very interesting topic.
Okay, so that book, it was actually selected by Philly.com as the best book for vegans in 2016. And I assembled a really amazing team with a lot of the leading medical doctors and nutritionists in the plant-based world to contribute to the book. The first part just goes into all the preventable diseases that are being shown to be the case when people embrace a plant-based lifestyle. And I asked like some of these big, like Dr. Greger, Dr. Clapper, Hans Deal, Joel Kahn, like just Brenda Davis, Juliana Haver, just like give us your kind of elevator pitch for why this is important for our health. And so it's there's a good section on the information, and then there's about 200 recipes in the book. And there's a big movement in the plant-based world to go oil-free. So all the recipes are oil-free or have oil-free variations in them. And it also has this, what I really love about it is there's a nutrient reference chart that we put together, and that lists like for different body systems, like your skeletal system, cardiovascular, your eyesight, bone, teeth, and nails, what nutrients are important, what role those nutrients play, and what the plant-based sources of those nutrients are. So if one of those body systems needs a little extra loving, you could look to see what nutrients are important and then which foods, and then go into the recipes from that.
I love that. I love to see the culinary chef that goes into that level and actually shows people that it's all about health. And
Yeah.
I mean, and that leads me to the next question. So, what are the challenges of promoting the vegan diet and vegan food because it's not just about the, presentation and how the, food looks beautiful and tastes beautifully, especially, I mean, from the point of view of, being a chef, right? Because
Right. Yeah.
love, creating beautiful dishes. But health-minded people, they want to eat healthy. And I'm so glad you mentioned that in your book there are like oil-free recipes, because a lot of people, like myself, we follow SOS-free diet, which is, salt-free, sugar-free, and oil-free. So,
Yeah.
and I usually go to the restaurants, and only several of them can offer me oil-free options, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
also there are people with a different allergies and food sensitivities, like, gluten sensitivity, etc., etc. So how do you take all of that and put it in your cookbooks?
That's a good question. And actually, all the recipes are either gluten-free or have gluten-free variations as well. And I've been, throughout my culinary career, I've always accommodated myself to people's different diet requests. I remember a big workshop I did in New York, and I had like, there's like 20 something people there, and I had like 7 different types of diet preferences I had to accommodate, like tree nut free, oil free, sugar free, soy free. And so I take it as like a challenge to kind of accommodate to all those. To answer your question though, like it's it's really a lot more simple than people realize to embark on eating healthy. And so I have certain things that I like to suggest for people that are like intimidated or aren't sure where to start. Like one is I just encourage people to get more creative with salads is a good one. Usually some people, they've had very limited salad experiences. So just start thinking a little out of the box and just include things like nuts and seeds or legumes or grains. I like to encourage people to go to the produce section and find an ingredient that they've never worked with before and either ask someone there or look it up online how to include it. And if you do that with one ingredient a month, by the end of the year, you'll have a nice solid new repertoire of foods to work with. So getting creative with salads is a one thing that I like to recommend. And you could even just by changing the way you cut the vegetables in the salad can change the experience. So you could get a spiralizer, you could do julienne, chop, dice. So all those will create a different experience for someone with the salad. I also like, another tip is I love showing people how to create their own spice blends. And so I like global spice blends is something that I like to share with people. So you have your Mexican, Italian, Moroccan, Ethiopian, Cajun, herb de Provence. You have your various spice blends. And then I'll share a little later other strategies I have. But when you use those spice blends, then you could really create like a world of global cuisine very simply in your dishes.
So, I love talking about spices. I mean, I'm from that part of the world that we
Yeah.
use a lot of spices, and my favorite one, like I use a lot of cumin and coriander.
Yeah.
So I mean, to give this, kind of, the Eastern flavor.
Hmm.
So, what are your favorite spices? And also, when you talk about creating your own blends, so how this blend is different, what we can find just in the commercial stores?
Well, the commercial store blends are great. So if you some people don't have access to them there, so it's just simple recipes with like 4 or 5 different spices that you mix together, and then you can create your own blends. But if you do have access to other to pre-made blends, those are fine as well. I do recommend organic whenever possible if you could use them. Personally, I love cumin also. It's one of my favorite spices. And I'm a big fan of, if I were stuck on a desert island with one spice, it would probably be chipotle powder, because it gives you that spiciness and heat. I love, for dessert dishes, I love using cinnamon and cardamom together. That's a big theme in my sweet recipes.
Do you
And
make your own teas?
my wife, Ashley, my wife, is a naturopathic doctor. She is more into the herbal tea realm. So we do actually have several tea recipes in the latest book. So we do like using those as well. And also actually toasting spices is a great tip. Like toasting cumin is probably one of my favorite techniques in the kitchen to really bring out that deep, rich flavor.
How do you toast it?
You could either toast the seeds and then grind them in a spice grinder, or actually just in a dry saute pan, even the ground cumin until it becomes golden brown and aromatic. That's another one of my big techniques.
Okay. So I want to hear more of your top tips for those wishing to eat more plant-based. So just,
Okay,
you know.
let them out. Okay. Excuse me, just so one of the kind of my signature style of teaching is what I like to refer to as a template recipe concept. And what that means is you look at a recipe in its most general form, and then you break it down into its component parts. And by changing each component, you're creating a new recipe. So instead of feeling like you have to learn like 100 recipes to be creative in the kitchen, you really just need to know several of these core template recipes, and then by changing the templates, the components, you're creating a new recipe. And so one of my go-to meals in the kitchen, and one that is really simple, and you could do it typically in 20 or 30 minutes. This is just our standard like go-to, is what I like to refer to as a monk bowl. And a monk bowl is a grain, a green, and a protein. And so by using that template format, you rotate through the grains. So that could be quinoa, amaranth, different types of rice pasta, millet, buckwheat, couscous if you have gluten. The green is any vegetable or combination of vegetables of your choosing. And those could be raw, steamed, roasted, grilled, stir-fried. And then the protein, I like rotating through. Personally, I like tempeh, tofu, and then just the whole array of beans and legumes. And so you could really create an infinite array of dishes using that. And then for a fourth component is you could have a sauce. And that sauce could be, for me, it's as simple as I do like using a little hemp oil and nutritional yeast on that. You get the omegas from that, or hemp seeds. And then you could, on your least busy day, you could make a few sauces, or you could find a nice, like organic barbecue, peanut, sweet and sour, teriyaki. And so that creates that whole array of dishes. Even a hummus wrap could be looked at as a monk bowl, because the tortilla is the green, the veggies are the green, and the hummus is a protein. So those are pretty big takeaways from there. And then other tips are, I actually, some people, purists really don't like those analog products. I call them analog products. And that's where you have the plant-based cheeses and different types of meats. And they're definitely more processed. I like to refer to those as transitional foods, because a lot of times if you take someone who's on a standard American diet and they're having a bacon cheeseburger one day, if you try to have them have like a sprouted mung bean salad the next day, they're going to miss that feeling of satiation. So for me, I think those products I know just from firsthand experience that it helps a lot of people transition away from the animal products. So that's a big one. And then other tips are just, because most of us are really busy, is just like doing advanced preparation when you can. So that could be cooking up some quinoa, steaming some veggies, or even just making the smoothie that you're going to have the next day. You could, on your least busy day, put some smoothie ingredients in jars or bags in the fridge or freezer, things like that, to kind of speed up your prep time. Overnight oatmeal, overnight chia puddings. So I love showing people those kitchen hacks, things like that.
They're awesome. And you were talking about those bowls. You call it monk bowl, right?
Yeah.
Some places they call it Buddha bowls, right?
Right. Yeah.
same thing. That's my favorite. I mean, get to go everyday bowl that I eat, during the lunchtime or,
Yeah.
sometimes, during the dinner time. And you're absolutely right. I mean, you can fill it up with everything you need and just, change ingredients.
Yeah.
You've mentioned protein and you've mentioned tempeh and what else?
Tempeh,
Tempeh.
tofu, or
What is
beans and legume.
what is a way to quickly prep tofu? Because I mean, what we buy in the stores, right? It's packaged. So, and I usually
Yeah.
challenge with a way of quickly preparing that.
So this is another go-to recipe, and so a lot of times people are turned off by the texture of tofu, but if personally I like there used to be just soft, medium, and firm, then they have extra firm, and now only in the US, never to be outdone, we have the super firm, and
Oh,
there's actually a high protein, and it's a function of the water content. So I love using the extra firm or super firm tofu. You could cut it into cubes or cutlets or strips. And then if you have one of those toaster ovens that's on the counter that has a little tray in it, you could just if you want to do it oil-free, just do like a little spritz of tamari, which is a gluten-free soy sauce, and then some water. Or if you do like a neutral flavored oil, a little bit in there, and then you roast it at 375 for about 20 minutes. And so that gives you, if you want it to cook longer, it'll get crispier on the outside. And then you could use a broiler setting on it to get it crispy. But that's a technique that I've been using for many years, and just that really super simple. You could add other ingredients like different rice vinegars. You could add like you could do a lemon Dijon marinade. You could change the flavor of the marinades to change the flavor of the tofu. But that's really my kind of go-to when we have 20 minutes to do a meal. That's kind of what I gravitate towards. And
just recently, I found in Whole Foods, very crisp and tender, very crisp pieces of tofu.
yeah,
It tastes like, literally like chicken, and my kids, they just love that. So that's the way of grilling it, or
so you could grill it also if you have a grill. That's one of my favorite ways of cooking tofu or tempeh. The quick way is in the toaster oven like that. If you want that crispy coating, then you could use a broil setting. And if you have the toaster oven, that'll kind of get that top crispy. There's another technique where you take the tofu and you wrap it in plastic wrap and put it in the freezer, and then you defrost it, and then it becomes spongy. And so that's a technique that a lot of people use as well. And then you could do that roasting, marinating and roasting. Then that changes the texture too.
wow, that's amazing. Thank you so much. Let's talk about my favorite subject, which is raw vegan cuisine. I'm raw
Okay.
vegan for 3.5 years, and I know that this is one of your specialities.
Yes.
So, what do you get it if you decide to eat raw vegan? And some people ask me, Angelina, what do you eat? I mean, are you chewing on a salad 24/7?
Right.
And
Well,
for me, the raw vegan cuisine is the most flavorful.
mhm.
Right, so I mean, it gives you a lot of flavors, and it's beautiful. I mean, you can make a beautiful presentations, and I just love that. So, what's your
Yeah.
experience? I mean, what you can tell us about raw vegan cuisine?
So that's a great question. We actually wrote the Idiot's Guide to Eating Raw, which is it's still available with the Penguin series. And so there's there's lots of different techniques with raw food. So salads play an even more important role, and that's where just getting super creative with like what veggies you have in there. What some people miss when they go from cooked to raw is feeling the satiation or like a heaviness with the meals. So for that, I like to even just having like a big piece of avocado with your salad helps with that. And then I like showing people how to make pâtés as well, cedar nut pâtés. And those pâtés you can use if you want to do like a raw nori roll, or even just having a scoop of it in your salad. It'll give you that fat and protein from the nuts and seeds that will give you that satiation. Other things you could do, well, it's easy to make your own plant-based milks, just blending nuts and seeds with water and straining it. You could keep that in a mason jar in the fridge for a few days. If you want to get serious about raw foods, then you want to start looking at more into dehydrating that technique. And that's where you can make, in my classes, we make pizzas, tacos, crackers, granolas. That's where that whole, you kind of open up a whole new door when you work with the dehydrator and raw foods.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I love raw vegan pizza.
Nice.
It takes time to make, but it's
Yeah.
delicious.
Yeah, that's one of the bigger differences with raw foods is it is a little more labor intense, and you do have to give some more thought to, like, if you want to make sprouts, or you're soaking and then sprouting, or if you're using the dehydrator, that could take a day or even 2 days sometimes. So you need.
But again, I think it's for more advanced kind of eaters, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I go, for 3.5 years raw vegan, and I have, not much time to prep my food. I actually think that it's much easier because in the morning, I mean, you can, blend your, smoothie and decorate it nicely. It's a great
Yeah.
to go breakfast for kids.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, those Buddha bowls. Yes, I mean, if you want to get creative, yeah, it takes more time. But for me, I mean, it's actually easier. You don't have to clean because
Right.
there's no filament, right? It's
That's
like,
true. Yeah. Yeah. I
and,
guess, yeah, if you're doing, because then you're in the more like the fruit and veggie, you're pretty much in like, yeah, fruits, veggies, nuts and seeds and herbs. So with that, having a good blender and then even a food processor for pâtés is helpful. Or you could go old school and just do what you're saying, kind of keep it super simple.
what's your favorite pâté recipe?
I like doing, one of the ones I do in my classes is a wasabi ginger pate, pickled ginger.
What's in
Using
there?
that.
Can you share with us?
It's sunflower seeds, carrots, pickled ginger, wasabi powder, some salt and pepper. I think a little nutritional yeast also is an ingredient that I like to use. That's in there.
And you just add a bit of water, right? I mean,
And
what's your
yeah, well, you soak the sunflower seeds so they get nice and moist, and
right.
then you could add water, and that is something you would use in the food processor.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that's
And then actually making, yeah, nice pestos. You could do raw pestos, and instead of using the olive oil, which is traditionally used, you could use avocado. Is something I like to do for raw pestos.
right. I actually learned. I've been into the Ellen Goldharmel clinic several years ago, and they taught some culinary classes. So I learned how to make sauces even without nuts.
Yeah.
So you just, use avocado and vegetables and,
Yeah.
some raw juice and
Yeah.
good to go. So if
Yeah.
you want to be completely sauce free, right? So
Yeah.
how to make your own sauces with that.
Nice.
Um, can you talk about your Vegan Culinary Academy and, what and the one that you're opening up in Boulder? And
Cool.
I'm really excited to learn about it. So
Yeah, I'm really excited too, because the last since 2010 I've been traveling internationally doing basically pop-up culinary school and everywhere across the US and Hawaii and Europe, and doing things like 5 and 10 day trainings and teacher trainings, and I have plant-based chef certification program I was doing, and now it's all going to be kind of folded into this new state-of-the-art culinary academy we're opening in Boulder, Colorado. And so we're due to open this summer. The main program is going to be a 3-month program for people that want to enter the professional vegan culinary world. So it's going to be a really deep dive into of both the business side and the culinary side of the plant-based professional culinary world. We'll also have courses for professional chefs that want to up their vegan game, and I've done corporate consulting around the world, and it'll be similar to that, where chefs who have been around the block a few times but they don't know how to work with vegan foods, they'll be able to get training there. And then we'll also have home cook courses from similar to what I've been doing. So like 2 to 5 day trainings for home cooks. And we'll also have evening classes here for the community. So date nights and knife skills and holiday cooking, vegan cheese making, kombucha making, a whole assortment of evening classes. And the space is actually large enough where we'll be able to host big community events, so movie screenings. And we already have a list of a lot of the leading plant-based chefs and medical doctors and presenters who will be rotating through the school to offer events there. So it is like pretty much a culmination of a lifelong dream to open a school like that. So
that
coming,
sounds amazing. Wow.
yeah.
I mean, you just, you bring so many things into one place. That's amazing.
Yeah, I'm so excited and grateful. So you have to come to Boulder sometime over the summers when we'll be opening.
What do you think should happen? How we can shift the mind of professional culinary chefs
Mm.
and the owners of the restaurants, so they can start incorporating plant-based dishes in their restaurants?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's like very grassroots. It's like going to the restaurant and asking for vegan dishes, and like eventually if several people start asking for it, or like the soy milk for the coffee, or a vegan cheese on the pizza, or a tofu scramble, for breakfast, like it's just really getting out there and asking for it. I've done like a good amount of corporate consulting in like university settings. So I know more and more kids are asking for the foods. And so the chefs, they're not really equipped. There's only so far you can go with like a baked potato and some steamed veggies in a salad. So they're starting to want to meet the rising demand. And I've been kind of watching the trend for quite a good amount of time. And just even in the last 5 years or so, there's just an explosion of interest. And I know that it's only going to keep on there's only going to be more and more of a demand for it. So that's kind of my one meal at a time is how I think it'll happen.
Right. Mark, where people can find you, and what is the best way to stay in touch with you?
We're veganfusionacademy.com is the website. And I'll be offering also I have that top 10 kitchen hacks that I'll be sharing, so people could download that. And then we have a free newsletter where we'll keep everyone posted on when the school's opening, and soon we'll be posting our calendar for 2020 and 2021. So there's just going to be an amazing array of events and classes for people to sign up for at the school.
That's awesome. Well, thank you, Mark, for being with us today.
Thank you, Angelina.
You make such a profound difference in the
Oh,
that's very valuable. Thank you.
thanks so much. Spasiba.
Spasiba. I'd like to encourage our viewers to take time and check Mark's website, Vegan Fusion Culinary Academy.com, and we'll send the link along with the interview to learn how to prepare delicious, world-class plant-based cuisine that is good for your health and the planet. Stay always healthy. I'm your host, Angelina Kardash, and thank you for watching us.